Welcome, dear students. Today is our first lecture of the course Contaminated Site Assessment and Remediation Technologies. This course is related with the studies of contamination once it reaches the environment. Initially, we are supposed to contain all kinds of contamination at the source, and we need to properly dispose these sources of pollution, these contaminants. But if these contaminants are not controlled and they spread out in the environment they exist in different media, then we need to remediate, we need to have some remediation technology. And this course is basically related to that kind of studies, which will be including the assessment of that site which has contaminated, and then what kind of remedy we are going to use to eliminate that source of contamination. So this is something about this course. And then we have the some description about the objective and then course contents. Normally in this course we will be tracing out the contamination. So how the contamination is existing, in what concentrations in a typical medium, and then what are the possibilities of its transport from one place to the other. And in other words, we will be working on the fate of the contaminant transport in this course. So these all things will be included in this course. Normally we will be talking about the regulatory requirements of any medium like soil or groundwater, and then what kind of chemistry these contaminants are going to have in the environment, in soil and medium, and then what will be the mechanism of its transport, what kind of remedies we can take. And we also need to have a hydrogeological and geochemical aspect of the site characterization. So all these things will be discussed in this course. You can go through it. Then in our practical section we will be covering the field-based risk assessment approaches, how we are going to deal with this contamination in the field. And then we will also conduct health risk assessment studies, and some of the important practical work which is required in the lab, it will also be discussed and conducted in the case in our laboratories if possible. But it is very important to conduct these analyses while we are interested in finding out the fate of the contaminant transport. What are these practicals? These are particle size distribution analysis. It is and then we are also interested to find the contaminant retention in the soil and how it is being leached down into the groundwater. So these will be the major practicals which will be studied in this course. A major book which we will be studying, we will be following, is Contaminant Hydrogeology by C.W. Fetter. You can consult this book. What is the scope of this course? Now we will be talking about the scope of the course. While dealing with this kind of scenarios, it is very important to conduct a detailed site characterization. What is site characterization? We are actually going to properly investigate every aspect, how the contaminant is going to behave, how it is going to exist in a typical environment. So these are the basic studies which will be conducted in this course. And then in addition to this, we will be studying the remediation technologies. There is a huge advancement in the remediation technologies. There are so many conventional as well as latest approaches for conducting this remediation technology, and we will be focusing on that. in particular. So not only conventional approaches but the new trends in the remediation technology will also be discussed, and we will work out a few case studies as well in this case. So while dealing with the pollution, while dealing with the contamination and dealing with the sources, we are more interested in the treatment procedures. For example, in any industry, we know what kind of waste is coming and what kind of treatment is required. So, in order to deal with that, we normally install and establish a treatment plant to fulfill the requirement. So once the wastewater from any industry is treated, that means it is now no more carrying any contaminant, and it is recommended to dispose it into the environment, where it is not going to have any kind of negative impact on the environment. And then if we are still finding out some leakage and some pilferation, or there is some source through which this contamination spreads out and it is not being controlled at the site or in the industry, so in that case this contamination is going to spread out in the environment. So what kind of possibilities these are? First of all, we cannot have an efficient treatment plant. That means the treatment is not conducted properly, and the waste effluent after treatment is carrying high concentrations of the contaminant with them, which is being released into the environment. Once into the environment, it may be existing in soil or it may be existing in the groundwater. It again depends upon the site characteristics. So that's why I was talking that site characterization is the basic component of our course. So how we are going to conduct this site characterization? It will include detailed studies we will talk about later. Just first of all, I want you to have a clear idea that what we are actually going to study in this course. So as I talked, the pollution, once it is out of control, it is going to have a negative impact on the environment. And once it reaches the environment, what kind of solutions we have, that this course is all about. We are not talking about the treatment procedures within the industry. We are not going to talk about treatment procedures of uh, drinking water contamination, but we are talking about the existence of contamination in the environment once it is out of control. There are so many loopholes and so many points through which this contamination can escape the procedure of treatment. So what those loopholes can be? It can be the inefficient wastewater treatment plant, and then overflow of our wastewater drains. Then furthermore, we can have an excessive amount of contamination in our drains, and then some weather conditions can have a negative impact, like excessive rainfall can increase the wastewater flow, and because of that we can have spillage, and the wastewater can directly join the environment without passing through the procedure of the treatment. So this is one of the examples. And then if we talk about the uh, landfill sites, then it is a very sensitive type of structure, landfill, and there is a huge possibility of uh, pilferation and leakage through this landfill. What are the possibilities of leakage from a landfill site? First of all, the lining which is normally done through some textile fiber or geomembranes. It can have a leakage within itself, and maybe it is not uh, filling the whole earth structure completely, and there is some leakage through that portion. Or in some cases our whole structure of the landfill can be affected by some earthquake activity, because it is going to destabilize the structure, and once this structure is destabilized, it is going to have some cracks, and it will facilitate the um leakage and leakage of the contaminant from the landfill, and it will ultimately join the soil, and from there, from soil, it will again move forward to the groundwaters. And then another issue of landfill can be the uh, settlement of soil due to the overloading at the ground surface. Most of the cases, once we close a landfill, it is normally open to the public after taking some remedial measures, and once it is open to the public, it is directly under the influence of the extra load, so which can be negative, which can leave some negative impact. So very strict monitoring of the landfill is required every time, even after its closure. So whenever we find some difficulty in approaching the exact concentrations of the contaminant being existing in the form of leachate, we must check the procedures. We must have a site assessment, so that we can find out if there is anything going wrong with this landfill site. So in short, these kind of structures are normally very much open to the threat to the environment.